I often have a feeling of resistance when I sit down to do these videos. I often don't really have an idea in mind of what I want to talk about until the last minute, and there's all these ideas swirling around in my head that kind of holds me back. You know, you look stupid, you could do with a leaner face, you've already said this before. There's all these excuses that come up, and this is the resistance that people like Stephen Pressfield have talked about when it comes to writing. But creating anything, to some degree, will feel resistance to doing it, and this is why so many people fall short and decide to, rather than create, escape, do something else. And that can be a shame, because I've sat down so many times to write or make a video, not really feeling it, and feeling that resistance, but doing it anyway, and then seeing the outcome of that piece of content and how it's helped people. And often the ones that I was the least prepared for are the ones I get thanked for a lot. So it's in our best interest, and as I'm sure you know, one of the window of opportunity tends to open up in life when we are willing to be rejected, or at least to look goofy, to look a little bit awkward, to look a bit silly. Like, I'm sitting here squinting again, and lots of fibers in me are saying, don't bother with this, we can go and have some lunch or something. No need for this. But we know that there are always opportunities, and often most of life's rewards come when we are willing to put ourselves out there and risk looking a bit goofy, risk saying the wrong thing, risk doing it wrong. And I just wanted to kind of look into that, because if we can sort of figure this bit out, so many things open up. If we can, I don't think that the resistance will ever go down to complete zero. We're human beings. There's always going to be a part of us that fears, to some degree, how other people might judge us. It's built into our genetics, I think. Since, long time ago, we always had that fear of abandonment and being rejected from the tribe and all that kind of stuff. But there is a certain amount of work that we can do to diminish that attachment to fear when it comes to exposing ourselves to the views, opinions, thoughts, and eyeballs of other people. If we can get past a lot of that resistance, a good chunk of it, so many things open up. And this is where you can really accelerate things, when you have less of an emotional attachment to the fear side of things, and rather than being fearful and always allowing yourself to be avoidant, to choose the avoidant route, to find the other way and see if you can kind of blast through that. And one of the ways that I've found a way to diminish that fear is to understand what's going on at the level of psychology and what kind of things we're thinking. And as I always come to the conclusion, it's belief related. It's what we consider to be true that gets in the way of our taking action on things we know are good for us. If we believe something to be true that isn't necessarily true, like I need to please others to be happy, and we hold that belief as a real truth, like we genuinely believe that, and a lot of us do, because we're conditioned to believe that thought as we grow up. We're conditioned to believe that we can't be truly comfortable or happy or safe unless the people around us are pleased, unless the people around us approve of our actions. And this is, you guessed it, this is what happens when we grow up, and hear from our parents and hear from our teachers, and we get that idea reinforced. If we behave well, if we're quiet and well behaved and don't rock the boat too much, we're going to get the reward. And we enter into adulthood thinking that that's the reality, and we end up kind of skewing that truth and making life more complicated for ourselves, because we end up not expressing ourselves fully as we could, because we're always masking what we perceive to be inadequacies in ourselves in order to gain the approval of the people around us. And this is why we get resistance to creating new things. Creating new things is a courageous, bold endeavor. You're bringing something into existence that wasn't there before, like this video with me giving an opinion on a kind of shaky handheld camera. So there's all kinds of thoughts that come up, especially when you hold the belief to be true that if we keep other people around us happy, and we don't invite in rejection, and we don't invite in criticisms in the comment sections, then we'll be fine. But of course, doing these things and creating does invite that kind of stuff in, and you have to be okay with it. And so it becomes a matter of taking that belief, which sits at the core of why you're doing these things. It's really about belief. It's about how we perceive the world around us. And if we do genuinely believe that we need to please others to be happy and to be safe, then we're never going to do anything with our lives. So that's a really key, you can see it's a little nugget of importance here. We've got to look closely at this belief. And what if we were to turn it around? That's where the opportunity lies. Maybe I don't need to please other people to be happy, to be safe, to be secure, to be comfortable. Maybe I don't. Maybe it's not on me. Maybe it's not my obligation to make other people approve of me, or all people to approve of me, to be able to do stuff. And if we hold that new thought to be the potential updated truth, then everything changes. If we're okay with the idea that we might upset a few people in our creation, in our expression, or we might invite disapproval, and we might invite criticism that isn't even meant by a lot of people who are just projecting their own insecurities, right? So there's only so much you want to look into this stuff without getting completely wrapped up in it. Just, see it for what it is. So what if you didn't need to please or gain approval from others in order to be happy? Reflect on that thought for a while, because it could very well be the opening you're looking for to be able to more readily and more enthusiastically create things and bring new things into existence and just be yourself and express yourself, which is what creativity is really all about. Is there something else we can do with this thought? Can we go deeper into it? What if we didn't need to please other people? What if it was okay to actually invite in some disagreement? Well, that's, to me, proof of the updated belief that we don't need to please people, because you could be telling something that's valuable that might not initially please everyone, but ultimately does serve them. If they react angrily initially, that's on them, that's not on you. But if you're giving something out that's of value, then you could well be changing the world. And if you held back on doing it, you might well have not introduced those people to new thinking that they needed. So that's just one example of why you don't need to necessarily be pleasing everyone around you to be happy. So just a thought to reflect on, and how interesting it is that at the heart of our resistance to doing things can often just be one thought. And if you can look at that thought from a different angle, or from multiple different angles, you can start breaking down the emotional attachment you have to that thought. And it's like a kind of house of cards. You pull out one card, one thought, and it all breaks down. You find yourself much more fluid, more willing to do stuff, because you're not worried that you will lose your happiness if you upset some people. What if you could still be happy and not necessarily please everyone around you? Or not even that. What if you, because I was just thinking about this earlier, when I'm holding my camera up in public, you can feel a little bit self-conscious about that. Well, what's going on in my head? Who cares? If somebody walks past me and they see me holding a phone, in my mind, I'm kind of displeasing other people. I'm kind of creating a anomaly in their reality that's sort of rocking their boat a little bit. It's going back to the idea that we shouldn't rock the boat. We shouldn't enforce ourselves too much on other people. And it's amazing how subtle that is. Just holding my phone up and looking a little bit goofy makes me feel a bit worried, makes me feel exposed to potentially losing self-esteem, because I'm surrounded by people who might judge me for that and think of me as like some kind of TikTok nerd or something, right? But it all goes back to that one belief, which is I need other people around me to be content and happy and pleased in order to myself be happy. Otherwise, if I make other people upset, or if I push people off their expectation because of my presence, if I kind of nudge their, I'm sort of like a glitch in the matrix. I make someone have to look twice, which takes them out of their normality, their normal day, right? Then it's on me. I've done something wrong. And we can't live like that, because that's prison. So think, if there's one thing to just take from this is think about that core thought. There are going to be lots of other thoughts involved, but one of the core ones that I think sits at the kind of house of cards, if you can see it from a different angle, could change everything for you. Do you necessarily need to please people around you to be happy? Take care, guys. See you in the next video.